Hello, welcome back to the Women of Rock Oral History Project podcast, Season 2, Episode 4, Part 2, with Melanie. Got a solid hour and a half of stories, so let's get to it.
I know.
I wanted to go back for a minute, though, because I want to know how you personally, how you identify politically, and then how do your politics kind of fit into your music? Because it seems like, I mean, even just your experience with the music industry, that you still exist as kind of an outsider, still that same kind of loner kid who wants to do your own thing and doesn't really want to compromise.
Right.
And coming up in the 60s with the hippie movement and the counterculture and the anti-war movements. And then, just thinking about Woodstock. But I guess first, do you identify personally as a political performer or just a musician, and politics just is part of that?
Oh, God. Yeah. My feeling about politics is I do not talk about it because, first of all, I'm not. I think it's polarized to the point of ridiculousness. And, if you don't want the vaccine, it means you're a Trump supporter or something, I don't think so. There's things about that vaccine I'm not so sure, and all the details that have come out about. But I'm not going to talk about that because, if you want to take a vaccine, I guess it's your right to do that. But do know that there's billions being spent making you want to take that vaccine. Mm-hmm. You have to know that. Yep. I mean, billions being spent to make you want to take that vaccine. Mm-hmm. Just the same kind of billions making you want to buy that hideous record that you had to have heard it 90,000 times before you like it. Yeah, I like it. It has a nice beat. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. You don't really like it. You've been programmed. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Actually, somebody did a YouTube. It was, I forgot his name, British guy, why modern music is so bad or something like that. Oh, you've got to see it. It's really brilliant. And he analyzes, what was nice about music and what's not so nice right now. Anyway, so, I will talk about the mediocrity of what's being promoted musically, but as far as politics, I'm a humanist. Mm. I mean, things that divide people, I'm highly skeptical of. Mm-hmm. If it starts feeling like it's divisive, then I ridge. My whole body ridges. I can't help it. I'm an instinctive person. I've always known who is bad and who is good. I just have that instinct, and I like authentic and real. And I don't know, there's so much phony stuff out there. And I can't even look at television. Yeah. I mean, I really can't. I can't look at mainstream television or even movies recently. I used to love going to the movies,
I was thinking about that the other day because I like to keep up with, I love movies and I watch a lot of documentaries. But even the movies that were up for Academy Awards this year, is it just me or are movies worse?
I know, it's just, I mean, it's not entertainment. It's, to me, it's kind of a weird programming that's so obvious, there's so much agenda in things. I just think people would be better off right now if they shut off their television and just kind of get in touch. I mean, it's a good time. We're all home, find out who you are, how about that? Somebody once asked me kind of, I think I don't know, he might have thought something that I wasn't fair, but he might have thought something. And he said, well, don't you feel like, because I said I'm not really political. He said, don't you feel like politics shapes who you are? And I was startled by a comment like that, because isn't it really the opposite? Isn't who you, I mean, it would be much more accurate to me, but neither one is accurate, but it was startling that he said that. And from that time on, I said, it's really, people have enough shit shoved in their face. I certainly don't have to add to it.
Yeah.
There's enough. There's way enough. I'm a musician. I really think music will save the world, music and art, as long as it's, coming from an internal place in an artist, and not from a place where I want to make the next hit record. I want to be famous. Look at me, look at me, look at me. I mean, we're in this thing where everybody is posting themselves. They're looking at themselves. They're constantly, I was in a place the other day, and there's a girl, and she's like holding her camera, thing, and she's like making faces, and she was in a fast food restaurant. I mean, what are you doing? Everybody's producing themselves.
When you're like embarrassed for another person,
Yeah.
That's what I feel when I see
people. I know. And they're doing their phony smiles, and aren't I having fun? Look where I am. I'm at Culver's. And it was like, I don't know. I think my generation just skirted the generation who watched themselves.
Yeah.
And when you watch themselves, how are you ever in the moment? Mm-hmm. You're producing the documentary, you're producing a film, that you're stylizing who you hang out with. Your friends aren't really your friends. They're just like one of everything that's politically correct. Stylizing that you see people being fake and phony and disingenuine, and they don't know what it is to like hole up in your room with a record. Mm-hmm. It's all alone. You're all alone, and you're there, and you're in the moment of listening. And it doesn't have anything to do with whether any of your friends think that's good, or whether anybody, but it really indicates to you. And I feel bad that people don't have that.
Yeah.
That genuine, it moves you in your heart, in your soul. It means something bigger than any kind of fame or fortune or celebrity. And everybody wants to be a rock star, or something, and they want to be. And I don't say that's bad, but do it. Learn how to play something. Sing. Learn how to sing. Maybe that would be something. But just the way you look, and look at all the people in the past you would never have heard of if the same standards were applied. You'd never have heard of Aretha Franklin. Mm-hmm. Imagine Aretha being on one of those, The Voice or something. It wouldn't happen. They say, lose about 200 pounds, you'll be great. Yeah. Or something. It wouldn't have, some of the people, I look at some of the faces of pop people who they just wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it. I'm amazed that I got as far as I did, because someone early on knew that I was a loose cannon. And I always said I got away with obscurity. because at one point it felt like they were dropping like flies.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to get dark and gloomy, but that's...
No, I mean, that was part of because like, I do want to talk about, just, you mentioned sort of before we officially started the interview, the memory of Woodstock 69 versus actually being there, but also just that whole generation where you had this sort of kind of like a revolution happening. And then how many people, at the same time, you had this rampant, drug culture, and a lot of those people are not with us anymore. So
right.
You're one of these survivors. But just if you could talk about Woodstock 69, your experience playing it, seminal moment in history, and then just how did you not fall prey to that lifestyle? Like, how are you?
I was an introvert, really. I wasn't a person who enjoyed being seen or spotted. I mean, it would terrify me, if somebody recognized me on the street. It was not what my motivation was. My motivation was music, and I was so driven to do and to let people hear my music that I bypassed the part of me that was terrified. I was when I did Woodstock, I was in England during the whole preparation and I do believe it's one of my glasses fell out. I can only see out of one eye, which is very distracting. Of course, I could just take them off totally. And how did that happen? I can't believe that. I mean, okay. So there I am. Okay. I was not celebrity material. I didn't want to be seen. I wanted to be heard, and as much as possible be invisible. When I went on stage, I covered myself from neck to floor to the point where people thought I had polio.
I thought that was just
they said, you must have something wrong with her legs. She's never shows her legs. So no, I didn't want to be looked at as, first of all, a woman at all. I hated that. It was like, especially then, it was a guy thing. It was, it was all men. It really was. And girls were there, but they were the lead singers. They were the chick singers with the male group, They weren't alone, Joan Baez was my hero because she was alone, Joan Baez, she was my hero. But there was not common to have that. My take on being at Woodstock and what has been retold, again, history gets told by the winners. It was not a political group at all. Was not political. It was very much about humanity. It was very much about changing the world with your actions, with what you do, not about who you voted for. In fact, it was so not political. The only political part was being anti-war. And that's always a good idea. It's never a good idea to go to war. Never, 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 unless you're protecting your borders. That would be the only real reason. If you were being attacked, then you have to do something to not be attacked. But for hopefully, there'd be many, many steps that you could take before that would happen. But maybe not. I don't know. But I'm definitely not a let's go to war person. I never have been, and I never will. And yet I sang at West Point during the biggest time of anti-war. You know, and it was an odd thing. They asked me if I would sing at the West Point Cadet Center where they were, you know, having something or other, and why not? You know, why not? So I sang Peace Will Come, and I sang, you know, my songs of hope and humanity, and I got a standing ovation. You know, I actually thought they're probably going to boo me halfway through or something, because, you know, again, if you were at Woodstock, it meant that you were something. As time went on, not at the moment, but as time went on, it just, most people would just assume, you know, a lot of things about my politics. They would just assume because I was at Woodstock,
yeah,
which is insanely not free thinking. It was a time of free thinking. You know, you could be very right on one side and very left on another issue, you know, and that's healthy. But to clump all these issues together as one thing, like a vaccine, has nothing to do with politics, but it's been made to be, you know, and I just, there's so many things that are touted as political that have nothing to do with politics, but it polarizes people,
yeah,
and then they can manipulate groups with the group think, you know, and if you have this odd opinion about something, I mean, people talked and debated during the 60s. I mean, William F. Buckley could debate with Martin Luther King, and that would be totally okay, and nobody would hate anybody, you know, because it was intelligent opinions about different things, you know, whereas there's no allowance for any disagreement of any kind. It all becomes clumped with right or left, you know, and it's nonsense, because there are certainly more. We think people are so creative, you know, we're insanely creative. We create unusual solutions to problems that are, you know, sometimes they're crazy, but, you know, people just can't help it. They can't help but create. And again, sometimes it's an unusual solution, but we can't help but create. And artists, I mean, really and truly, that's art is so suffering because of what's going on, and having to have this political agenda in there. And artists should be free. Artists need to be free. We can't be imprisoned like this. Yeah, comedians, the same thing. I mean, Seinfeld said he can't go out and do stand up because he might say something that would, you know, be not taken right by somebody. And being funny is like, I'm always saying something. Like I said in one of my newsletters, I'm going as a hippie Muslim, because because I wear black a lot, you know. Yeah. But they all know you can't say that. No, you can't say that. Of course I can. You know, it comes from.
Sorry,
then it's
cut out.
bad.
What?
It's bad if you intend to hurt with your comment. But if your comment is it's just an off the cuff thing that you just flew out of your mouth, obviously you're not trying to hurt anybody, and it's not hurtful, and your intention is not like I'm above reproach. No matter what I say, I can't hurt anybody. I really can't. That is just not in me. And again, that could be argued, I'm sure. But of course I win because I'm right.
Because you're an Aquarius.
Yes. Most definitely.
No, I think I agree with you. And I was talking to a friend about this the other day, just that with social media too, and how people's opinions are snipped down to like 800 characters. There's just no room for nuance in conversations anymore. Everything's either black or white. You're either for something or against something. And there's just no room for anything in between, which I think is really unfortunate because especially for me, I'm like not a black and white thinker. I change my mind all the time.
I know. And that's the other thing. I told that person who was talking about politics and don't you think that shapes who you are? Well, I said, I changed my mind too much. Yeah. You know, it's like, one day I find out something and that would be called conspiracy theory. And then I find out something else and that would be called left. And I find out something else that would be called right. It's like I changed my mind way too much to be even thinking about being political. Mm-hmm. So, and that's is that we have the ability to change our mind.
Yes,
which is
and I think
a good thing.
A really good thing for people to do, and it should be allowed.
We should be allowed to change our minds. Exactly.
Yep. I do want to know, so while you were working and touring and performing, you performed internationally, obviously, but you were also married and you have 3 kids.
Yes.
How the hell, I ask everybody because I just don't understand. I'm a lesbian spinster and I can't even manage my own life and my 2 daughters. How do you balance? What is the work-life balance there?
Yeah, it was I always took the high road with music, music to me is sacred. Good thing. If I write a song and I feel like, it's got to get out there, no matter what, it has to get out there, whether, that it's not a matter of how much time I spent with my kids, although I did take them on the road a lot, which was hard. It was very hard. And I breastfed every one of them.
Oh, wow.
That was another hard thing. No, especially when I first started, because it was like, women were definitely formula people. It was my mother was horrified when she thought I was going to do that. She's like, she was a Tang mother,
Yep.
Tang and Velveeta cheese, this is the food of the astronauts, whatever. And, the thought of that's, something that old peasant women did, that why would you do such a thing? And I'm again, because I found out stuff, and that's a good thing to do that because your kid gets all your immunities and it's healthy, and people got to get away from the thought that it's not a good thing to do. And at least for 3 months, you should really breastfeed your baby. But people were funny. But my mother was raised in the age of the propaganda for science was big. The food of the Tang was like, I remember jars of Tang, and that was orange juice. Why bother picking an orange and squeezing it or anything like that? You could just spoon it out in a water. You drink it down. You got your vitamins. That's it. And my mom was, of that generation where everything was that science produced was really good. And my Aunt Jeannie took thalidomide and had a polio baby. But we were all taught that doctors and science, and we weren't questioning. People weren't questioning. The doctor said, if the doctor said, you did it, and that was that. And the horror of my poor Aunt Jeannie lived. I mean, she took care of that boy until he died. He was a grown man at 30, 35. And her whole life was that decision to make, oh yeah, take this. It'll be great. I don't know what it was for. I forgot thalidomide, but there were a lot of thalidomide babies. And it was one of the first that I remembered wondering about the pharmaceutical industry in the first place, But yeah, we were, my mom was a science person. So, modern, everything modern and scientific. And so I don't know how I got into that. What were we talking about?
Oh, about managing work-life balance
yeah. So my mom was also, you got married, you had children, that's what you did. And I was, not from that. I was like, no, I don't think so. In fact, I didn't think I'd ever have children. What will I do with my cat? I mean, I was terrified about my cat. My whole first pregnancy, I kept thinking, oh, my cat won't like it, and I'm gonna do with my cat. And then I heard stories of cat sucks the breath out of the baby and kills the baby they suck the breath. And what am I gonna do? What am I gonna the cat? And as soon as I had the baby, I mean, okay, cat, you're on your own. It just was a whole other thing, But yeah, my children were like my main. I want them to be happy. I want them to be healthy. I wouldn't let them have sugar. I had them, they were vegetarians till forever. And, little by little, you can't control everything, and they go to a birthday party and they have a big piece of sugary cake and they like it, and they want another piece.
Up on sugar all night.
Yeah. It's like, it was just that, leaving them at home and I had a nanny and I always said she was Mary Poppins gone wrong. It's not it's exactly Mary Poppins. It was and she was British, and I did kind of think that my children would have maybe a British accent, which I thought was adorable. And I would come home and they would say, oh, Mommy, we're so happy to see you. We're so glad you're home. But that's not what happened. No, they didn't get a British accent. The nanny got an American accent, and, kids grow up with or without you. And I sometimes regret not having spent more time with my girls because, again, my focus was on the music, and I had to do what I had to do. And in my head, it was for them as well.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I don't regret what happened. I mean, they turned out great. I love them. We're all very friendly and happy, and nobody hates me. Nobody's going to do a Mommy Dearest movie on me or anything. And but with Bo, when he was born, there was a little time that went by. I didn't let him out of my sight. I took him with me everywhere. We became we now make music together.
Yeah.
But it was tough because there were times when I'd be in Europe and I couldn't get home for somebody's birthday or Thanksgiving or, the meaningful things that, we invent to keep family life going. And I'd be devastated a lot of times, I wrote a song called Some of My Dreams Came True. It's actually called Extraordinary, but the line is, but some of my dreams came true. And it was Thanksgiving, and I'm in Nuremberg, and everybody's home, and I was directing how to make the stuffing, how to do this, and how to make lasagna, because I was a two-culture group. I grew up with both American and Italian, and Russian, Ukrainian. My father was Ukrainian, but mostly the cooking side was Italian. And we would have, every holiday was well represented. We had to have the turkey, of course, on Thanksgiving, but then we also had to have lasagna and eggplant parmesan and a big Italian salad and stuffed mushrooms and all this, things that you do on a feast day would be major Italian cooking. And the turkey would come out after all that Italian food, and everybody would look and say, "Oh, it's beautiful." And they would cut a slice, and everybody would have a token slice of turkey and mashed potatoes and green bean casserole. But it was pretty. We did it.
Yeah. Before we get to the last few questions, I do want to go back because we were also talking about absurdity and senses of humor as like survival tactics. Very useful. But you said that you've had a lot of trials and tribulations in your life where your dark sense of humor or your appreciation for the absurd has helped you. Do you care to speak about that and what some of the trials and tribulations were?
Well, because I have such an erratic career, it took its toll, on everything. You're at one point, you're everybody's human campfire, and then nobody wants to even look at you. I had a number one record months before the closing of Neighborhood Records, and I was talking to record labels, and I'd hear things like, "Well, we just signed so-and-so, sounds just like Janis Joplin, but she's 16. And, and then it got to be like they were signing embryos, it was like, you couldn't be young enough. You had this guy, Johnny Lang, he's 12 and he plays like B.B. King. And it was like, who cares? Have who you are. But there was this feeling like, you're finished, baby. Hey, baby, you're not 20 anymore, and that it even though, in my head, I knew that was bullshit, but it affects you, you also, it seriously has an effect on how you can't get your songs out. At one point you have all these songs and you want people to hear them, and they're not going to hear them if you don't have the machine behind you to get them out there, So we were the independent part became more and more difficult. And after Neighborhood, we never financially recovered totally. It was we had spent a lot of money on different groups. Again, when we were the kind of people who somebody needed a car and we got them one, it wasn't like, well, let me write a contract for your publishing before you do that. It wasn't like, we weren't that way, so we did, crazy things in realms of the business, but that was just the way it was. And so that made life harder here and there. And again, I just wanted my kids to do well. I just wanted them to do well. I wanted them to be happy. I wanted them to see me happy. And sometimes that wasn't possible. And that in itself is a hardship. You want your kids to think you're happy. I did anyway. I didn't want them to see me sad. Like, I didn't want them to go, "What's the matter, Mom? What's the matter?" I didn't want that. I wanted them to think their mom was a doing well, happy person. Yeah. I wanted to set that kind of example, and I was, my mom, I lived her dream life, and that kind of resentment, and that also played a part, because, I didn't know that, like, people would say things about what Peter did, and then I'd find out that wasn't true, no. Or, there's like a couple in music business is not easy to maintain. There are always people trying to drive a wedge in that. There were, like, throughout, there was lots of different people who were trying to drive a wedge through that. And they would say things, and I'd find out, or they would say things to Peter, about me, and then he'd find out that it wasn't true, or, stuff like that. Yeah, there was some ugly stuff, that we had to get past. And that's what I guess I meant by trials and tribulations. Yeah. I mean, not real trials and tribulations. We weren't being hung by our toes or anything.
No, that's a lot.
But
I mean,
yeah, but it was a constant, tug and pull, and then you'd have a hit. And then everything you do is wonderful, and everybody wants to be with you. And that's the other thing. The first time, I didn't realize that I didn't have all these friends that I thought I had. I'm just finding that out is a major wow.
Yeah.
I thought that person really liked me. I thought we were friends. Those are devastating. And especially, I was relatively young for the amount of success that I had. And you're not expecting the barbs and the arrows to be coming from places that they come from sometimes, and finding out those things, the treachery and actual people trying to get you, get you down, trying to pull you out of where you are. They don't want you there. Because then you have power and control, and they don't want you to have that.
Yeah. Yeah, those are some trials and tribulations, Melanie, I would say.
Well, I'm glad they don't come out as trivial. I don't want to have trivial trials and tribulations.
No, those are real.
Like, I couldn't figure out what color to put on my toenails.
Then I might have laughed a little.
Yeah, right. But, yeah. Oh, poor baby.
I also, so I wanted to ask this question because I have a 9-year-old niece and a 7-year-old nephew. And so they visited last weekend, and I said, I'm interviewing Melanie Safka this week. I'm really excited. So then my brother-in-law wanted to show them who you were, Googled, and your Miley Cyrus collaboration came up.
Yes. So
my niece was automatically like, okay, Melanie is very cool. She's 9. But I wanted to ask what you've collaborated with a lot of people, but some of your most memorable musical collaborations.
I never really thought of it as a collaboration, but I guess it is in a way. And I think, really the Edwin Hawkins Singers there was nothing like it. I just recorded with them, and I sang other songs that they wrote. We never recorded another song, unfortunately. And the whole way that happened. Edwin Hawkins himself had said that he couldn't possibly allow his choir they had just come off Oh Happy Day, which was a major #1 record. And we were on the same label, and my husband contacted him because I said, oh my God, it would be so amazing if the Edwin Hawkins singers could sing on the anthemic part of Candles in the Rain.
Yeah.
And so Peter contacted Edwin Hawkins, and one day I was, in the house, and Peter was there, and he was talking on the phone. Every once in a while, he would do this absolutely abhorrent thing. He would say, Melanie, somebody wants to talk to you. Oh no, who are they? What do they want? Why do I have to talk to somebody? And he said, it's Edwin Hawkins, and he really wants to talk to you. I went, oh my God. I said, so have you heard the song? Do you want to do it? I mean, it would be the best thing in the world. I could so hear this. And he said, wait. Does the song have Jesus in it? I went, no. Does it say the Lord? I went, well, not really. And he was quizzing me. He said, no, we only do songs. I don't want to disappoint you, but we only do songs in praise of God. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, well, he's in there. I don't know. I'm not. I was awkward, because I'm looking at Peter. I'm going to kill him because he put me on the phone. Unknown. I didn't know what I was getting into. I assumed that it was already a yes. Yeah. When I got on the phone, and then I found out that he's quizzing me about the song, and I mean, oh, okay, well, I understand. It's all right, because I'm so sorry. I'm sure it's a wonderful song, and good luck with it. And it was basically no. Now Peter, I don't know if he planned it this way, but we flew out to Oakland, where we were recording in a studio with Freddie Kutera, who was the engineer for like Art Garfunkel and Simon and Garfunkel. And so he had made a mega reputation for himself, Freddie Kutera, and he was going to be the engineer. And we were recording some songs in that studio. And then Peter said, Melanie, we have to go to see the Edwin Hawkins singers are rehearsing down the street. I said, Peter, they said no. He said no, it wasn't good because it didn't have Jesus or God or anything. And he said, no, you got it. He wants to hear it. He really wants to hear it. So, I mean, Peter was like the P.T. Barnum, and I was always like, I'd find out later, about things. And anyway, I went down with my guitar, and, I didn't even have it in a case, it was strapped over my shoulder. And I'm, going down there, and they were in a high school gymnasium. And we opened the door, and they're in the middle of a big choir part of something. And everybody just the door opens and they trail off, their voices trail off, and they're looking. And I look at Peter, I say, you didn't tell him, did you? You just did this, didn't you? And he said, come on. And I said, no, I'm not going down there. Are you crazy? And so Peter ran down the aisle, and Edwin Hawkins gets up, and he's playing the piano. He gets up, and Peter's gesticulating with his hands wildly, and Edwin Hawkins is shaking his head, no, and no. And Peter's, talking some more, and Peter signals me, come on down, So I walk down, all these people are looking at me, and I'm like, oh shit. And so, sure enough, you sing the song, Melanie, sing the song. He'll know this is. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry to everybody. I'm so sorry. I'm really, really sorry. I didn't mean to. My husband is a bastard, and I'll get him later. But So I started singing the song. And I really, I put myself in it to the max, because there I am in front of 46 huge Black gospel singers, and they're all looking at me like, what's she doing? And so, and I was singing my heart out. I sang the verses, I sang the chorus. By the time I got to my second chorus, some of the voices started singing with me. Mm-hmm. And little by little, more and more of them started singing with, lay down, lay down. And Edwin Hawkins just like threw up his arms and, okay. So we went to the studio. We all went at that moment. We went to the studio. Now I don't know what incentives Peter, presented or anything, but I do know we all went to Freddie Kutera's studio and we recorded that day. And the percussionist, Reyes, from, what are they? I don't know. Oh my God, the group, he had a hit with Clive Davis more recently, flamenco-ish, Spanish style. I can't believe this. What is going on? Maybe I do have Alzheimer's. Oh my God. I mean, I'm
Googling
it. Oh my God, this is embarrassing. I actually performed with them at in San Francisco. It starts with a C. I can see a C.
Flamenco?
No, not flamenco. Spanish style. Yeah, I have a poster with us on it. How could I not know this?
Googling good enough.
I'll remember it 5 minutes after we hang up. But anyway, there were big groups.
Carlos Santana.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's it?
Carlos
Santana. Okay.
So anyway, the conga player was in the studio with us, and it was wildly exciting with these big voices singing "Lay Down" with me, and I was singing as big and as powerfully as I could, and it was just the take went on and on and on. And Peter did that universal signal of, circling his finger, keep going, but we didn't have to be told. It just was spontaneous to the point where the record went on for over 8 minutes. And it was the take, there was no getting around. We weren't going to do it again. And it was wild and inspirational and amazing. And that was the most amazing studio, I guess, called collaboration that I ever did. And of course, it's very exciting to record with, Miley Cyrus or Richard Thompson. It was very exciting to that, but well,
I just like Miley's. Like I didn't know any of Miley Cyrus's music. I only know because my niece is 9. But the more like doing all of these interviews and starting to write the book, she has covered so many of her predecessors and like performed with them that she's sort of the only current pop star who's like paying homage to people that came before. I mean, she recognizes that, that there are women who came before her, and she gives them credit where credit is due. So that's what I like.
I know that is really was an amazing thing. And she first thing she did was she did a backyard session, a solo, and this was like prior to her getting naked. It was she was going for granola oatmeal cookie lady, you know what I mean? She had her hair in a bun and she was playing the guitar and she sang "Look What They've Done to My Song." I was totally impressed with her voice. And then before that I hadn't known anything except Hannah Montana. And my girls liked Hannah Montana, not my girls, my girls' children liked Hannah Montana. And I thought that was really sweet. And then I wrote her a private message on Facebook. I said, really love the way you sang my song. And she said, oh my God, it's my life's life song. And we have to do something together. And I thought, oh, that'd be great. So I don't know what I thought we could do together. But anyway, a little time went by and then she got naked and did Wrecking Ball. And that's all anybody was talking about is, oh, she's naked and she did Wrecking Ball. And I looked and I thought, that's kind of weird because she did a flip-flop big time, from granola lady to now she's naked on a Wrecking Ball. Again, I don't have any remarks other than people have to do what they have to do. I know that she's surrounded by a lot of bad people, and she's trying to survive. And I know she doesn't want to be seen as a country bumpkin. She doesn't want that on her. And when you're young, you really worry about
their parents.
You worry about how you're being perceived.
Yes.
It's like, well, it's everything. It is survival. You're being perceived. I was dismissed basically as anybody with any sort of relevance or social significance of any kind. Even no matter what I wrote, no matter what I did, sing with a bunch of Black people, you're still stupid Melanie, you're still the little Bliss ninny. Rolling Stone wrote it's a great song. They didn't say I wrote it. They're great. And when the Edwin Hawkins singers are singing the choir, it sounds fabulous. But when Melanie's voice comes in, it's like a nails scratching against chalkboard. And that killed me. It absolutely killed me. Now I look at it and I should have said, fuck you, but I didn't have that. I didn't have the FU in me yet. Yeah. It was like, oh my God, maybe I am too loud. Maybe it does sound bad, and I was totally going with the criticism, thinking they're right, I'm wrong. I did something wrong. I see your dog. Is that a dog in the back?
That's one of them. Yeah, the other one's growling at me from the kitchen.
So we were, so I was very devastated by all those kind of critiques. And I'm sure, she did not want to be Hannah Montana anymore. It was just too adorable, cute. And if she wanted to take off her clothes and show people, I'm real, and whatever people have to do. And I liked Wrecking Ball. I thought it was kind of odd that it was written by 9 people. When 9 people write a song, it's like, where did the song really originate?
Yeah.
And who really wrote it? But, the things like that happen. But I sense, and I have no right really to judge anybody, because to me, you're out there, you're a target, you're a moving target and you do whatever. But I feel like there's a real authentic Miley in there. And every once in a while she contacts me. Like I got her to, I connected her and Michael Lang when they were going to do the 50th anniversary of Woodstock, because I was doing it, I think I have a whole feeling about why that didn't happen, but, was happy we were going to do Woodstock. And then I contacted her later as it was progressing. And I realized that Michael had 3 different stages. And I was going to be on the fucking heritage stage, with a wheelchair ramp. You know what I mean? Why are you doing that? I mean, Woodstock had one stage. It had one stage, and Ravi Shankar was on it with Melanie and Shanana and all these different kinds of music. And it was an eclectic, wonderful mix. And people want to see what's happening. I said, all you're doing is you're making another Bonnaroo.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing what everybody, Coachella. They could go to Coachella. Why did they need to go to Woodstock? It's so far out. It's inconvenient. Why bother? You're doing the same usual suspects, So why do that? And I gave him all these ideas for what to do, but he didn't listen to me. But anyway, so I talked to Miley, and I was trying to get a hold of her to say, can we do a song in your set? Like, so I'm like there, not like on the heritage stage, which is, I should be grateful,
No.
You know what I mean? It was so insulting, and it minimized who you are as a person. You're like, oh, this is the historic people over there. Country Joe is going to be over there. Yeah, artifacts. The artifact stage. They still move and they still walk and talk and sing. And I just hated it. And so I called her and I didn't get a response. Mm-hmm. And basically, the next time I heard from her was through her day handler. And they treat me very nice. They very polite and nice and everything, but patronizing, just a bit patronizing. And she said, oh, I'm just giving you a heads up. Miley did a produced, like a selfie commercial for Gucci. And she used a brand new key, and kind of with the attitude of, aren't you lucky? I'm sure Miley got compensated for this, and I didn't in any way, shape, or form. And she actually knows my circumstance, that I've been ripped off miserably by the record business powers that be people, and I don't collect my copyright, and that is a severe loss, because I don't have to tell you, that's how I could earn an income writing a song.
I assumed that you got paid every time that song appears in a commercial.
It should be. No, I've definitely been, there's, it's wild. And I told you, I won my copyright back, and yet some of these compilations come out and it's still Buddha Records. So I mean, I would need Paul McCartney's lawyer, to do it. And that is the one bad thing about not being in the position that I'm supposed to be in, because
people could also just not be assholes. So you don't have to fight for every single little thing. I mean, it's just sort of ethical to pay someone.
I do believe that at some point there will be ethics put in the music business, because it's such an honorable thing to be representing all these artists. That if things were right, all artists would be compensated for what they did. And it just, if they can get away with it, that's what they do. They get away with it. And I'm in the position right now where, they're just Sony and BMG own everything, my performance rights, my publishing, I don't mind publishing. Okay, I remember selling publishing. That's okay because I owned my writer's rights. But somehow there's a piece of paper slipped into a contract. I saw it. It was like a Xerox copy of something that they put in that contract that gave them the right to my copyright. It's definitely I saw it. It's before computers, so it was a Xerox copy of a little addendum that I signed, but it allowed, but I mean, I could have signed a piece of paper and they put that in, it's not like, some people, they say, well, if you needed money and you sold your cut, but it was never like that. They actually stole it. They stole my copyright. So, again, I have to, I'd like to make it right for me and my kids. It's, they lived the life, and I'd really like to have them be taken care of.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to cry.
No, don't cry.
I hate that. I just hate that. Sometimes, you just say something and it triggers something. And
yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's really unfair, but hopefully you're still here, you're still working, and try to just remain hopeful. Maybe someone who
to get.
If I knew anything about anything, I would help you, but I know nothing about I know nothing about that life.
You know what? I don't either. It's very funny. I'm going to tell you a quick analogy of, no, it's not even an analogy. It's when I was starting out, there was a DJ and his name was Alan Freed, and he played the newest upcoming rock and roll on radio. And Alan Freed was convicted of payola. And that meant, somebody would come in with $100 and say, play my record, and for whatever decision he made, he would or wouldn't. He would either take the money or not take the money. But it wasn't something that everybody in the universe couldn't come up with. You know what I mean? You could, four guys who work a day shift somewhere come up with the money to pay Alan Freed. And if their record was good, he'd play it. Mm-hmm. To me, that's kind of an honest dishonesty, Yeah. It's all right. It's like, it's not so horrible, because anybody could do it. But now you have to know who to pay.
Yes.
And you don't pay them $50 or $100. You pay them $300,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's for a week of heavy rotation. Mm-hmm. That it's the amount of corruption now is unfathomable. Yeah. You really need to try to find this YouTube. It's why modern music is so terrible.
Oh, I wrote it down. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yep.
It's either that or why it's so bad or why it's so terrible or something. And he's a British guy, and he goes through, I think it's pretty brilliant because he really analyzes how it went astray.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I wrote it down. That's what I'll be
doing
tonight with my dinner. I just have a couple more just general questions. I ask everyone these questions at the end.
Okay.
How do you feel about your role in or contribution to music history? Do you think about it at all?
Well, now I do. I never really thought that I would be considered history. It's like I said once, I waver between hysteric and historic, because I'm that old. How did that happen? I was busy. I didn't notice. Time went by, and anyway, but I would just would like the music that I created to have a place where people felt something. I'd like how people feel after listening to my songs. Whether they were I was all over the map too. I've been on the B side of Brand New Key. I insisted we had to have a song that I wrote called Some Say. And it's actually Morrissey's one of his favorite songs. And it's a moody, more poetic me than Brand New Key. Brand New Key was poppy, but it's adorable, and I don't take anything away from it. It soundtracked so many people's lives in so many different ways. It's a song that I'm proud of. I'm really proud of it. I wasn't when it first came out, because again, it damned me to be cute for the rest of my life, and that it wasn't what I was looking for at that point. But now if I released that now and it became a hit and people were damning me for it, I would just say, F you. It's a great fucking song. And you should be ashamed of yourself for trying to make it anything but what it is.
And what are your thoughts on the visibility of women in music or rock music history in general? Is there a gender discrepancy? Is gender not an issue at all? Has it changed?
Oh, yeah. I didn't even know. Again, it was that was what the canvas was. Mm-hmm. There weren't a lot of women in music, except again, the chick singer and of the band, who was cute and everybody wanted to marry her or something, but it was very hard because guys were always trying to hit on you. I mean, that was what it was. It was like this constant, and again, I was married and it was, I wasn't trying to pull in that, I wasn't looking for a new boyfriend, but that would be presented to me like all the time. And so I, that in itself, and sometimes I didn't really realize it, because when I was making music, I was genderless. I'm just a person who makes music. Yeah, I happen to be a girl, but I'm not a girl who happens to make music.
Yeah.
It's the other way around. I make music and I happen to be a girl. And I was around men, guys, roadies, technicians. They were all men. And there was this like balancing act, like you don't want to make them mad, because but I didn't really want to encourage it either. That was a learning curve that took about 25 years.
Oh, that's it.
And again, there was written doctrine: play one woman hour. And I actually talked to a DJ the other day who said, yeah, I remember that. They only play one woman an hour. What does that do to the dynamic, of women reacting to each other? I mean, it was this like almost viciousness, because that's your survival. Mm-hmm. And, they pitted women against each other in this way, right? There's only one an hour. Yeah. Well, who is it? Is it going to be you? So there was a lot of that. And again, I didn't get so into it because, again, I was very conventionally married with children, so it somehow didn't apply. And, I remembered at one point, I think it was already the 80s, and I had Will Lee, a bass player on my session, was impertinent enough to ask me, so do you and Peter have an open marriage? And I said, yeah, it's very open. If I fool around, he kills the guy. It's how open it is.
Wow.
But I didn't have that kind of a comeback early on. Again, it took me a good 20, 25 years. But and then all of a sudden, every other girl was signed. It was all these girls who now they play the ukulele, plays the ukulele, the girls with ukuleles, and I, again, it's like it's not about how many women there are being played. It's about the music. It really comes down to the music. And somebody said, it was a couple of years ago, oh, Scandinavian women are the big thing. They're signing all these Scandinavian women, Swedish girls and Scandinavian women. Wow, what an asshole backward business it is. Insane,
Thankfully. What are you most proud of personally and or professionally?
Wow. I'm so proud of Candles in the Rain. I know it keeps coming down to, and that I was doing that during a time of, there was protests about, black and white and things. And I didn't even think of it then. But when I think of it now, I think, wow, that was pretty amazing. White and black people together singing a great song. And it was happening. And I did that. And I'm very proud of that. And I'm very proud that I was the first pop person to sing at the General Assembly of the UN. And I sang a peace song. Yeah. And that I was awarded the honorary ambassador of peace to South Korea. And I sang at the DMZ twice, the demilitarized zone, And those are the three things that hit me the strongest, that I was a spokesperson for UNICEF when I, believed in everything the UN did. Yeah. But now I'm not so sure. So, but again, that gets political, and it shouldn't be, but that wasn't what it was all about.
And the last thing is there anything that you want people to know about you that they might not know?
I don't know. I don't think so. They might not know that I'm still here. No. I would really like them to know that I'm still here. I'm not going away. And that's out there for BMG and Sony. So there.
What are you working on now? I know we haven't really been able to.
It's impossible. We're doing live streams, and I don't know if it was my content. I did a live stream, and then they don't let me boost my posts. Something's weird going on with Facebook. So I'm doing this live stream show on May 29th, and we're going to do it through Zoom. Okay. We're going to see how that goes. And it's like, there's a cap of, 500. We're probably going to stop it at 450 people. And I really need to sell tickets, to survive, basically. Yeah. So if anything you could do.
Concerts. Yeah, I bought tickets to a lot of Zoom events. I think that'll work.
So if anything if I could have your contact and I could send you the banner and everything, that would be great.
Yes, please. Yeah, I'll just I'll send my, oh wait, you have my phone number. I'll just text you my email address. So,
Oh, yeah, just text me your email. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anything that I can do, share, help, whatever people do to get it. I know it's like I was told, oh, you don't ask people to share. Never ask people to share. It's sort of like a Facebook etiquette or something. You can have your inner circle do that, but you can't ask people to do that. So.
I ask people.
Okay, well,
yeah, and I'll share.
I'm asking you, but don't tell anybody.
I won't tell anyone. It'll just stay between us, as per Facebook etiquette.
Okay.
But okay, I'm gonna take a picture of us because I usually take pictures with people.
Oh, but that's yeah.
No, but
it's
kind of funny. Like I kind of like it.
There she is.
The box. We can meet when you have a bra on. Yeah. A regular Zoom photo.
Okay, I'll send you a picture.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I plan to put makeup on and everything on the 29th. It's like, but no, I'll probably do something before then. I mean, it's just been so strange, when first I got shut down, basically, I was on my way to, of all places, Seattle, that I was about to do a West Coast tour.
Wow.
And the first date was at the red door, something door. And they, we were going to do it anyway. And people were saying, oh, you can't, that's a ground zero and you can't do that. And I said, I'm doing it. I'm going. There's no way I'm not going. The concert people are still doing it. And then I got a call. They reduced the number of tickets that were allowed to sell to 250 or something like that. And I said, that's okay. It's okay. I'm good. We'll still do it. I bought my ticket. I bought a non-refundable ticket. Do you believe I did that?
Yeah, no.
And I know I'm $900 and something. I'm still paying off on my Southwest card. So I paid for the ticket. I went, and I was going still, but then they called me and said, no, you can't do it at all. So I swear I was going to go there and sing outside the door. I was so upset. I can't even tell you. I usually never do that either. I usually always get a refundable ticket.
The one time I bought a refundable ticket to LA for an interview, she had to reschedule. And I did the same thing. I was like, and then, well, actually, it was the person I was interviewing was really nice and was like, oh, I'd be happy to refund you the money for your. Obviously, I'm not going to take her money. So I said no. But meanwhile, I'm eating like out of the garbage.
I know.
And I'm like, I wish I took it, but I had to act professional. So I was like, no, okay. Thank you.
It took me forever because I had already sent my product to the venue and everything. And they closed their door and I couldn't even get people to send me my box of stuff back. But they did. But,
good. Okay. I was like,
it was so sad. I can't even I'm not even sure they're ever going to open again. That was
a lot of places are just closed for good, which seems really unfair.
It's insane. Absolutely.
But everyone's doing great. So everything's fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Are you kidding? This was more than I thought, more than I try to act really cool, but I thought I was going to throw up. Genuinely, a big fan. So
thank you. Wow. Well, I was I had met a hero. My hero was Kurt Vonnegut, and we were going to. It was this. I had a PR person. It was Howard Bloom. don't know if you know that name, but he was
Yes.
major PR person. And he set up this party, and he said, Kurt Vonnegut's going to be there. And I went, Kurt Vonnegut. And I mean, I had read everything he ever wrote, and I was totally smitten with Kurt Vonnegut. And I couldn't believe I was going to meet him. And I got to the party, and we were introduced, and we sat down on a little settee, and we talked, but I didn't talk. I blubbered. I was like, I read your book, and it's the best thing I ever got me through high school. And I was just a blithering idiot, and I felt so stupid. I mean, I never felt more stupid in my life. I didn't pull it together. And, and basically was flirting with me. And I didn't even get that. I didn't get, I was like, I couldn't get past being so impressed, that I look at it. I wrote a letter. I don't know if it ever got to him. I said, I'm really sorry I was a blithering idiot, and it's so not me, but I was staged. I was, starstruck. That was all there is to it. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Well, so anyway, he was nice to you, even if he used to teach. I live in Western Mass, and he used to teach at Smith. So I've heard a lot of stories of either, like, he was generally a pretty nice guy, but he was like very gruff and kind of cranky. So if he was talking to you, he was just like not talk to you.
Right. No, but he hung on there a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, I think he was hitting on me.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Melanie. And I will text you my email address too. Right.
Okay. Great. Okay. Thank you. I'll see you later.
Bye.
That concludes this episode of the Women of Rock Oral History Project podcast featuring Melanie, otherwise known as Melanie Safka. Please buy tickets to her Zoom performance on May 29th. You can do that by going to her Facebook page or checking her out on Instagram. You just pay via PayPal and you get emailed a link for the concert. It's that easy. Let us support our progenitors, the women who came before us. They're not dead. They're not relics. And let's celebrate them together, especially during a pandemic. I imagine it will be a really nice night and a very uplifting performance, because that's what Melanie's music does for me. Please check out Women of Rock Oral History Project on all of those social media places. Please like us. Facebook, Twitter, which I'm very bad at. Instagram, I probably use the most. The podcast is on Apple Music, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you could possibly listen to a podcast. So please check it out. Please share it with your friends. Share it on your social media accounts. And if you have an extra $1 or $2, we accept donations year-round. And so that is greatly appreciated. This is a self-funded / publicly funded project. And I am always in need of donations. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.